What is going on, my ladies and gentle people? So I haven't released a new true versus untrue video for a couple weeks now. I've been really busy recovering from my surgery on top of getting myself back on track at work, so I haven't had as much time as I anticipated to work on things. I thought having a week off of work would have given me a ton of time to release a stock load of videos on my channel, but as you can likely tell, that was indeed not the case. Moving along though, onto today's topic, the Department of Defense are undergoing some tests as well as Antifa beginning their protests upcoming on November 4th, 2017. A lot of hype is blowing up the corners of the internet with two big claims, one of which the Department of Defense is going to test an EMP across the entire United States, leaving us with no electrical grid, no cars, no cell phones, practically everything electrical gone and unusable for several days. Rude government, right? I know. Man, times are tough. And the other outburst, Antifa planning a civil war across the US of A, both of which sound treacherous and horrifying. This is Shaky Scrub, and today we're going to dig deeper into these two major stories. True versus untrue. Is it true? Is it untrue? Let's find out together. Do it! With these two claims spreading like a massive wildfire, quicker than California fires, I can foresee many people in panic or paranoia of others around them, waiting to see who is going to act out first. It was around 10 a.m. on November 1st when I was informed that numerous people on Facebook had posted about this apocalyptic event that is going to take place. When I first heard about it, it was something along the lines of the Department of Defense testing an EMP, which is short for electromagnetic pulse. An EMP is a defense weapon designed to take out all electrical devices, turning whatever land or country into a stone-aged pit. So you might be asking, do EMPs exist? Sort of. Technically, solar flares could cause EMP-like symptoms such as taking out satellite communications, radios, GPS, and many other wireless radio frequencies that we rely on every day. That is, of course, if the solar flare is large enough. This is why it has become so crucial for scientists to continue to study patterns and bursts from the sun and how they affect not only our planet and its technologies, but our solar system as a whole. But the more dangerous EMP is one of a nuclear warhead. Technically, if a nuclear warhead is launched and ignited in our upper atmosphere, we could see very dangerous results, one of which could cause EMP symptoms. At this time, not many countries, especially those with nuclear technology, know much about the impacts from such defense tactics. Previous tests done by the US government provided unpredicted results, meaning the outcome of damage had an inexact measurement. This makes it hard to fabricate a missile that does too much or not enough damage each instance. The remedy to this inaccuracy, as far as I was able to research, is CHAMP, which is short for Counter-Electronics High-Powered Microwave Advanced Missile Project. It is estimated by the mid-2020s that these types of missiles will be much more perfected, in hopes to be able to launch such a missile at one building and disable all electrical devices and communications directly. This would allow for military ambushes without threatening surrounding buildings and control comms in more focused areas to avoid any counterattacks from outside sources. Now, before I make any sort of justification on whether or not it is true that an EMP will be ignited in the US, I want to transition our train of thought over to the claims of Antifa. For those of you who are wondering what Antifa is, it is an anti-fascist group which has roots that stem out to Germany and other European countries dating back almost a century ago. Now, I personally like to avoid politics as much as I can on my channel because I'm not one of political debate. However, I do have reason to agree with some of Antifa's movement, but at the same time, I was brought up in this liberal democracy that many of us find confusing nowadays. So I have reasons to share my respects on both sides of the spectrum. However, the law is the law, and I'm not one to sit here and try to bend it, especially if it causes harm to others. That said, I'm not going to go into a political blabber of those topics. If I wanted to be a politician, I'd have gone to school to be a liar, and that's not me. Okay, that was kind of mean, but I think many of you would probably relate with the roughness of policy nowadays. Back on topic though, Antifa is going to be hitting the streets with their protests and attacking the internet as well. It leaves many of us who abide by the governmental system scratching our heads and trying to figure out which way to go that's safe. Personally, I would say go about your daily lives and just be aware and alert of your surroundings. You should always be alert of your surroundings. The biggest mistake one man or woman can do is let their guard down. We do do live in a very populous and unexpected generation. Now, let it be known that it is not my intent to scare or frighten those of you watching this video, but to rather educate on what these things mean. So in order to bring some oxygen back into the room, let's go ahead and move on to the question at hand. Is it true or untrue that the Department of Defense will be testing an EMP, taking out all electricity across the US of A, and Antifa going on a chaotic rampage causing a civil war? And the verdict is untrue. Based on the fact that EMP technology has not been tested in a real-world scenario, and many nations lacking the ability of nuclear weapons or technology, there are more questions than answers for most leaders. We have to remember that technology hasn't lasted for a long time, at least the kind we think about over the last 30 years. However, I do want to shed a small light on the fact that EMP-like missiles are being constructed and tested for defensive reasons. Thankfully, most of those tests, as far as my knowledge lets me go, has been done on United States soil. Now, as far as things go with North Korea, I'm not sure. So far from all my research, the turmoil between the United States and North Korea are like two women fighting over one man. And me personally, when I see cat fights, I run. I'm happily married. What can I say? But anyway, the truth behind the tests that are being conducted on November 4th have been confirmed by the military and its partnering officials and/or departments that the radiocom tests being conducted on November 4th are no different than the tests they have done for the past 4 years. These are simply disaster recovery tests that the government have in place should our planet ever get hit by an extreme solar flare, although I'm sure many of their tests also take into consideration the use of EMP-like bombs. I think it's important to realize that when news passes from word of mouth multiplied by 1,000 times more online, the story tends to get very fabricated and loses many of the important details until we go back and hear it from the horse's mouth. Those of you not familiar with that analogy, the horse in this picture would be the Army Auxiliary Radio System, not an actual horse, but that would be kind of funny though. Hey dude, we're gonna test an EMP bomb. Like, kaboom. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love sausage. Yeah. All right. Yay. Good deal. Yeah. Do it, man. Here we go. Focusing back on Antifa, there is no civil war. I do personally hope that Antifa keeps their protests clean of violence, but I know that may be a bit of a stretch with the fight they're putting up, one of which I can see strike a fuse in certain law enforcement and governmental sectors. Antifa does also plan many of their protests from an online standpoint to try and raise more awareness to their cause. Since my knowledge is very lacking with Antifa, I just hope that their protests or interests are not for the abolishment of liberal democracy and replacing it with a system which lacks proper regulation, safety, and enforcement, especially from those who are mentally unstable and likely to cause harm on innocent civilians, but rather to shed light on what I think is an overly complex governmental system that we live in today. I am all for good cause when the good cause is written flat out, without anger or turmoil. I won't choose sides with that topic, but I will advise to every one of you, do your own research and stay civil. That is all the time we have for this video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for future videos like this one. And if you would always like to be informed when a new video has released on the Shaky Scrub channel, be sure to click that little bell next to the subscription button and adjust your notification settings accordingly. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.